This might be the most masculine deck I've ever reviewed on this channel. The Runic Tarot blends Rider-Waite Smith structure with Norse mythology. And it's not just throwing a Thor on a throne and call it the Emperor. This deck combines the role of dragons, runes, but to unlock its real value, you will need to be patient, have curiosity and ability to look past some of the confusing choices. Welcome back! And if you're new to this channel, I'm Jay with Lunar Tarot, where I bring you weekly tarot and oracle deck reviews to inspire your readings. Today, we're taking a look at the Runic Tarot, a deck with a bold masculine energy and at times intense visual style. In a world of tarot, these don't come often. It's also not your standard RWS clone, and that's why it's worth talking about. First off, the box is already a departure from the usual low Scarabeo packaging, thin cardboard, and this one feels really solid. Now, this is not a deluxe or kit edition. I saw there's a kit version available online which has a bigger book, and I regret not buying that one. You will see in the second one. See, this is a guidebook. And the authors, by the way, of this Jack Sethroth, he is the artist behind this deck. I don't know about Alan or Jamie, but Jack has a Instagram account. He puts photos of these. Quite a fine print, if you see this. And it's different languages, as you know. So the English portion of it is not that. It's not the whole book basically. So he probably goes to here and then change language, right? So you get this much of the actual description, and it's tiny. Right now, the good thing about this deck is that I don't know if you've seen some of my videos where I mentioned that Los Scarabeo decks cards became really thin. Now this one is a different breed. Look at that. It's 0.420 millimeters thickness, and I recently reviewed a Druidic Tarot deck, and look how thick this one is. So 0.278. That's a big difference. And I don't know if we're going through some shrinkflation in tarot, where the publisher is trying to save money on making decks thinner. I'm not sure about that, but it's quite interesting. So the deck shuffles fantastically well. The cards themselves, let me just move away. Yeah, so cards, they have this glossy finish. Again, slightly different, almost like they have this extra layer. And there's no like special gliding or anything on the side, but they shuffle amazingly well. Quite like them, they shuffle. I also don't like using refill shuffle on my collected decks. I just think it just destroys the cards so fast. That's why I never do it. So I don't know how it would refill, but I think it wouldn't do a good job just because how thick the cards are, and honestly you don't want to do it with this deck. So the artwork is at times semi-realistic, I would say. It's got this kind of digital gloss on it. And some cards it pops right away, you will see them. Like this is a good example actually, King of Swords. And you can tell them. But then what I find with this deck, they are sometimes the images of a main character, they kind of blend with the background. Not with this one, but actually not with this one, I would say. And you will see it quite a lot. Some cards, you can tell the meaning straight away, and I would say it's probably a good take. Like this one, for example. And some you will have to figure out what they actually mean. And that's where it gets interesting, because you will need to use the deck. Now they changed the deck slightly in terms of the structure. So you will see shields instead of coins, like this one here. You have dragons, you got Norse gods. There's Odin here. There's a few other ones that I cannot pronounce the names because I'm not an expert on Norse culture. And by the way, there's a flip through at the end of this video. I put a timestamp so you can skip through if you would like to see the full deck. Is this deck beginner friendly? I would say kinda. just because it's not always follows the Rider-Waite Smith structure. Like here, death. Would you be able to tell me if this is a death card? Probably not, right? It's different from what you would normally see. But what I've noticed with this deck, because of its imagery and there's a depth to it, you start growing into this deck. I played with it for a couple of days and I started realizing how much I like the looks of the characters, the artwork. And I think it's also because of a lot of spiritual elements to it. It's good. It's going to be good for spiritual reading or maybe archetypal spreads. If you are drawn to Norse mythology, this could be a really good deck for you as well. And if you're just a fan of Viking series or mythic storytelling, this will hit the right spot. I think it's also a strong option for collectors, just because the quality of it and the artwork. And as I mentioned, masculine decks are not that common. I have a video coming up about most masculine decks, and believe me, it took me a while to put this together. This is going to be part of it, by the way. So, as the name suggests, there's also a rune system, and you probably saw them already. They're popping up here. And it adds another layer of meaning. And that's why sometimes you will see a character that may not be 100% aligned with RWS structure, but the rune meaning will. And that's why you need that deck. And the reason you need that deck, because these runes also apparently, and not an expert in runes, they are composite runes, and they're not it's traditional runes you will see. And it's apparently with some of them a bit of a shady history. I'm not going to mention it here, but if you do research online, you will find that they use a modern version of the runes, and it's not a very straightforward story. But if you're not into rune study and you just like the characters because they are real characters from Norse mythology and you like the style of this deck, I think it's a really good deck to have. Let's now have a look at some of the cards that stood out to me, and I'll talk about them a little bit to highlight some of the strong and not so strong sides of this deck. So one thing about this deck, the aces specifically stand out. I just used one example. You can see more of them when you look at the flip through. They're quite bold, but there are some cards that easily confuse readers. The Ten of Wands, for example. This is not a scene from Lord of the Rings. This commanding figure is not a magician either. This is actually Odin, and you already saw him. The death card, remember I mentioned to you? That was also Odin. Welcoming souls into Valhalla. And the World card, this is another interesting one. Remember the World card, so this would be a completion of a cycle, and this is a character called Ymir. He's a mythological figure from Norse mythology. But unless you really know the lore, I didn't, so I wouldn't understand what this is. To me, it looks like maybe a time or something that maybe collects souls or something like that. I can't really tell what I would think if I didn't know. Look at the other one here. This is the Fafnir, a dragon that is unleashing destruction for fire. And it's a very different take from a crumbling structure, right? In the tower gets damaged by lightning, but people just fall out, they don't get burned. In this one, nobody survives. So, very different. And the star card, this is two characters, a dragon. So one example of a dragon, you saw that one just then. And this guy here, his name is Njord. He's battling a dragon whose name I can't pronounce. I think it's Jormungandr, I think. I'm sure I didn't do a good job there. Yeah, so you wouldn't really see the star, apart from a little star there. But it takes a very different take. And this is interesting. This is where I expected to see Odin, right? This is a hangman. But this is not actually Odin. This is Ur, and also not really hanging upside down. He's doing a backflip on his skis. and you can find why he's doing that in the guidebook, though it's not a huge amount of information. That's why I suggested do a bit of research. This deck brings Norse flavor structure to tarot and makes it engaging, but at times frustrating. It demands time and curiosity, especially if you're not familiar with Norse mythology or runes. Some cards just speak to you, and others will require you to research and study. But if you like decks with strong masculine energy, symbolic depth, and slightly mysterious vibe, this one is worth a look. Just be prepared to spend some time decoding it. And if you are considering using this as your regular reading deck, I suggest investing in the kit version of it because it comes with a bigger guidebook. Let me know in the comments, do you have this deck, have you used it, and are there any other masculine decks you can recommend? That's it for today. I'm Jay with Lunar Tarot. If you got something out of this, feel free to subscribe, and if you would like to support what I do, you will find everything you need in the description. Enjoy the flip through.